Welcome to Joy of Business with host Simone Milasas, a dynamic business leader with a difference. Simone has founded and operated many businesses from a young age and has always done business differently. Today, Simone is the worldwide coordinator of Access Consciousness and travels the world presenting Joy of Business programs using access tools and empowering people to know that they can create business in a different way and make money doing it. Simone Milasas, weekly on OMTimes Radio.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to OMTimes with Joy Business. And Simone Milasas is your host. I am super excited today to have my awesome colleague, friend, and amazing man, Dr. Dain Heer, is joining me today. Yay! Thanks for joining me, Dain.
Yay!
Yay!
Thanks for having me, Simone. I'm excited too.
You're welcome. Well, I'm really excited because it's like, well, okay, let me tell everyone a little bit about you. It's like I've worked with, I have these guest bios, etc., but I'll just run it by what I know. It's like I've worked with, Dain's been involved in Access Consciousness. He's the co-creator for about 14 years. And I think I showed up about a year and a half after that. So we've been working together probably for 12, 13 years now. So it's been a while. We've been through a lot. We have both been involved in a company that has expanded from 4 or 5 countries to over 170 countries now. So it's a huge company that we work with. And Dain has, you're so popular all over the world. It's like with, all of your, social media, if you look at it, it's like you're in high demand in every country. I know because I'm one of the people that sets the schedule. So
yes, you definitely know.
Yes. And you've written a fabulous book, which I always love to refer to, is Being You and Changing the World, which is pretty simple, like the title of the book, Be You, Change the World. And that's what I get that it so much comes down to. And the title of this show is Being You in Business. And one of the things, as I've done, Joy Business for a few years now, I find that it's the one area that people, try and pretend or try and do something else whilst in business. It's like, I'm not sure if it's because they've got to, hold a man bag, put a tie on, put a suit on, or think that they have to be somebody else. And what I'd love to get during this show too is give people some tools and empower them to get that business is not about being someone else. Business is actually still, guess what, about being you, changing the world, making lots of money, having fun, whatever you choose to do. So
I think it's really cool that we're having this conversation because you're the person who showed me that. I hated business when I met you. I hated it. Like I didn't want anything to do with it. I grew up and my family had a family business and it failed miserably. And, and they lost all their money and it was the reason for all of their problems. I didn't want to have anything to do with business. And you were the one who showed me, wait a minute, this is fun. Like this can be fun. It's actually about being you. And I was like, oh, well, if it can be about being you, then I'm interested. It was all this other stuff that I didn't want to do or have to be. I didn't want to be anything that wasn't me. And so you showed me that being you is actually the way business could work.
Cool.
So thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you, Dain. And that's one of the things that I get that too. And it's like, when I first met you, it's like you thought you hated it. You thought you resisted it. Yet in truth, you're so good at it. And it's like you're awesome at it because you're so awesome at actually addressing the energy, asking a question, and then choosing something of what's required. And that's pretty much what business is. So I was wondering, Dain, if you could actually have some tools or assist all of those people out there who do have that point of view that they think they hate business because they've decided business is something that it isn't.
Absolutely. So everything you've let's do this. All the projections, expectations, separations, easy for me to say, separations, judgments, and rejections you have of business that aren't even yours, that you bought from everybody else, that make you not want to do it, that make you think business people are sleazy, business people are the ones that are consuming the planet, and it's because of business that our planet is dying. Will you destroy and ungrade it, please?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, bod and pock, all 9, shorts, boys, and beyonds.
Wow.
So that's a big, and that's got a lot of energy to it, which is an indication that a lot of people out there have something like that. But what we need to realize is it's not business that creates that. It's individuals making choices that create that. And that's what we don't recognize, is that a business is actually a collection of individuals who are making choices. You know, we act like there's this big behemoth called business in the world, but it isn't. And the other thing that we don't realize is, if we've, you know, a lot of us grew up and our parents were in businesses of one form or another back in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, whatever, 80s, and that they didn't have, their uniqueness was not acknowledged. It wasn't nurtured. But what you don't realize is you being you in any business environment can change that environment for the greater, but it also changes your experience of it for the greater.
Yeah, I love that. And it's interesting too, because it's like business to me is about choice. It's about question. It's about possibility. And I notice that a lot of people, when they start a business, it's almost like they think that they have to stick to it. It's like, you know, I mean, I look at it with relationships. It's like you go into a relationship. It's like you're actually allowed to leave it. You're allowed to change it. And it's like you've, you know, had a few girlfriends, few boyfriends, whatever that is. And it's like business is the same thing. But for whatever reason, people still think that they have to stick to it. It's like you made this choice and that's it. And it's like, I mean, I know as a humanoid, it's like, gosh, it's like sticking to one thing is like one of the most boring things in the world. And to me, business is always being about creation. And it's like, can you talk a little bit about business being about creation, how you see that? Because I love the fact that you're being you in business. Anything. That doesn't mean being you having, you know, 5 degrees, having all these letters after your name. It's being you in business.
Yeah, being whatever it is you are. And the interesting thing about the way business is changing, you know, you mentioned the 5 degrees in that. It's like, you know, business and everything else is changing to such a degree that it's not your college education that determines what you can create in the world anymore. It never was, but everybody thought it was. So it had this high value. It's more like the person who's willing to look from a different place than everybody else is looking from and capitalize on possibilities is the person that will create success beyond their wildest dreams. And so this thing about business being, if you recognize that truly it is in whatever aspect of business you're engaging in, and even if you work for somebody, you're basically in business for yourself. But whatever aspect of it that you're engaging in, the more you are, the greater it's going to turn out. And I think we've probably all had experiences from school and friendships and family and everything onwards where we were us and it didn't turn out very well because they didn't like the us we were being. But the beautiful thing about business is if you're totally you and it doesn't work out, or let's say you work in a business and you're totally you and they don't like you, or your boss doesn't like you, or you're not getting the job done, that's not the place for you to be. And so what you want to recognize also, so let's say now you're a business owner and you're like, hey, I'm doing everything that is totally against what is true for me. It goes totally against my own personal sense of integrity. That's not where your business should be going. Your business should be something that contributes to and supports your sense of personal integrity and also contributes to you creating the lifestyle to have that you would like to have, but also that contributes to creating the world that you would like to create.
So how do you start looking at that, Dain? Like at that energetically, it's like, what would you like to create in the world?
Well, what I do, and it's interesting because for me, it's like I talk about this thing about the world a lot. And I know a lot of times people are like, yeah, well, shut up about the world, man. I don't have enough money to pay my employees. You know what I mean? It's like, what do you mean the world? I have this microcosm here. But what we don't realize is we're all interconnected. And so this idea of getting to what it is you would like to create in the world, you know, Gary, the founder of Access, came up with this just brilliant exercise at one point that I did when I first started Access 15 years ago. And he came up with this exercise and said, and so what you want to do is you want to get the way you would like your life to be. Now, he did it in relationship to a job, but what I would say is take 3 minutes and get a sense of the energy that you would like as our world and be with that and put that energy in front of you and just sort of be with that for even if it's like 30 seconds.
Yeah. Well, and even just now you could perceive the energy of what that was.
Yeah,
How many
exactly.
people looking at it? Yeah, it's like, what would you like your world to look like? And you can be a contribution.
That. And then what you ask is, once you get that awareness, because most people have never even sat down and thought about that. And what we don't realize is it's actually an energetic first. Before it ever comes into physical reality, it's an energetic first. And when enough of us are willing to have a similar energy, that's the energy that will be created as our world, because that's the way it works. It goes from energy into actualization in reality. It goes from generation, which is the energy, to creation, which is bringing the energy closer to actually showing up, all the stuff you do to get it into reality. And then actualization is that moment where it actually shows up in physical reality. And so if you can start with this energy, so you start that for the world, and I say, okay, so you got that right there, get the sense of the way that would be, that shifts people's perspective. And now, what is it you would like to create that would contribute to not only the world you'd like to have, but your world as you would like to have your world?
So when you also say about the actualization, Dain, it's like, is that where you're referring to sort of like what you have to do? Like you actually have to create something, you have to choose something?
Yes, you have to get off your darn couch and do something. And I think this is one of the reasons people resist
Avoid
businesses.
business? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're like, I don't want to be committed to doing something. But if you're willing to recognize that in the doing, so much gets accomplished. But when you're doing from being, that's totally different than doing to do so that you can finally be. Doing from being is, okay, here's this sense of what I'd like to create, what I'd like to generate, how I'd like to function in the world I'd like to have. Like you just have these, they're just energies that are out there. And now with that awareness, you have a sense, am I heading toward that or am I heading away from that? And when you do that, not just for the world you'd like to create, but for the life you'd like to have, you get the sense of whether we're heading in that direction or not, and it gets a lot easier.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take a break, and I look forward to talking to you more, Dr. Dain Heer, on OMTimes with Joy of Business.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio. As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Matt Connerton here. Join Jen Coffey and I twice a week for Matt Connerton Unleash, a political talk show that's a little different than what you're used to. No liberal or conservative agenda here, just an honest dialogue about truth and how things really work in the world of politics. Matt Connerton Unleashed, every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Dr. Kevin here, and I want to invite you every Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, to join me on the Dr. Kevin Show, where we have a diversity of guests who help you step outside the box, behind the curtain, and see what a load of crap is going on in the world today, so you have more information with which to make better decisions. We'll see you there. Namaste.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Joy of Business. You're Simone Milasas, your host, and the lovely, awesome, magnificent Dr. Dain Heer. Now, we just left. Well, that's true. And it's
I love you.
I am so incredibly grateful to have you in my life. I mean, I work with you. You're absolutely brilliant in what you do, which I am going to mention some of the classes you have coming up, because you do a class called Being You, Changing the World, which is one of my favorite classes that you do. And mainly because, you know what, you see people come along who they know something else is possible on the planet. It's like they're seeking something, they're asking for something. They, you know, stumble across whatever it is, whether it's a person, an advert, or a radio show like this. Come along to one of your classes. I almost want to have like a camera on their face constantly, because they get to actually go, oh my goodness, oh wow. And it's like the tools of access consciousness and the way you deliver them, empowering people to know that they actually know. It's like nothing that, you know, they don't already know already, but they can finally get to be them. So I am going to mention the dates of that. I know you've got San Diego coming up. You've got Paris coming up. How lovely for you. One must go to Paris, darling. I know. I'll be in Australia. So you've got India, which I will be going to India, one in Mumbai, and you've got South Africa, which is so awesome. So you can actually, well, I said I was going to talk about it, but you can find those classes on drdainheer.com, and you can also find them on accessconsciousness.com. So they will be coming up soon. Now, one of the things, Dain, that we just left off talking about too is actually making choices and doing stuff. Like, yes, you can ask for something to show up, but you actually have to do something. Two of my favorite things that you've said is choice creates awareness, which means you actually have to make a choice. It's not sitting around waiting for the awareness. It's like if you make a choice, it creates the awareness, which I'd love you to talk about that. And also the fact that nothing ever shows up like you think it's going to show up, especially in business. You can't work it out.
So true. And so let's talk about the choice creates awareness thing first, because what most people do is they sit around and they wait until they have all the information and all the boxes are checked before they choose anything, as though if they get enough awareness, then that will lead to the right choice. But that's not the way the universe works. It's actually the exact opposite. Once you make a choice, you get awareness of what that choice will create, and then you know which direction to go. But you don't get that information until you commit and make a choice. And so let's do this. So everybody out there who is waiting to make a choice until they have all the boxes checked and they check in just the right way, and then instead of using your awareness to make the choice, you're going to go with blind faith into a direction that won't work for you. Rather than just choosing and seeing where it leads and course correcting in the meantime, will you destroy and uncreate it, please?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And that's the thing we need to realize is if we don't get that choice creates awareness, what we've already put into it, but it will actually work this time. But we didn't look and go, oh, well, we've already spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, so we should just give up. Oh, we're wrong. We never once went, oh, we're wrong. We're like, wow, this was an interesting choice and gave us a lot of awareness of a lot of things. So that's the thing you want to be aware of. Every choice will lead to more awareness for you. Even if it seems like a quote-unquote wrong choice, you get a universe of information about what you may or may not want to choose in the future, how people react, how people act, who has your back, who doesn't have your back, who's looking out for you, who can do a good job. I mean, you get universes of information from every choice you make, even if some of them cost you money or seem like a mistake at the time.
So you just make another choice.
Exactly.
So
and you just make another choice.
Yeah, make another choice, make another choice, make another choice, make another choice. So can you tell me what success means to you, Dain? What does success look like?
That's interesting because it changes all the time. But and there's also, so for me, it's like true success is knowing that you can change anything, and it sort of depends also personal and business. But for me, the business success, though I actually have this awareness. For me, the business success is when I see people's lives change in front of me, and when I see their worlds change, and to be able to continue on doing that with a sense of ease. And that for me is success. So, one of the things Gary said when I first came to, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the interesting thing is you don't mention money in that, which I see so many people calibrate, their success based on the amount of money that they have in their bank account. Yet, what if it wasn't about money?
Yeah, and I got to say, it never is. For a humanoid, and the humanoids, I'm sure everybody's been listening to you. They know what a humanoid is, but basically the seekers of the world, those who know there's something different and greater possible and hope to be able to help contribute to creating it. But for a humanoid, it's never about the money. I mean, you can use that as a milestone. And here's the thing that I found for most people is it's only when they believe they have a lack of money in their world that they refer to money as a measure of success.
Good point. And they also think that money is about creating. And it's like, in truth, and it's like, money is not a source of creation. And it's like, I mean, business can be a source of creation. That's the way I look at it. It's like it's like you wake up, you have a family, you're running a family. It's a business. It's creating. It's like all of it. It's not just about, like I said, putting on a suit and tie and, carrying your suitcase, your briefcase, your man bag, whatever it may be, and going off to work. It's like, it's something far bigger and something far greater than that.
Yeah, and something far more fun and actually far easier to interact with than the way we've been making it. We act like business is, Woolworths or Costco or, IBM or Apple or something. That's a business, and I don't have a big building in, that's not it at all. It's this joy of creating your life what I would say is it's the joy of creating your life in an ongoing, sustainable way.
Nice. I like that. Creating your life.
Feel free to use it.
Ongoing, sustainable way. And like I said before, it is that place of choice because it's like you can choose anything, you can change it. And I mean, I was telling this story not long ago about the Sydney Gay Mardi Gras on in Sydney. It's, this big, huge party affair, blah, blah, blah. And years and years and years ago, I wanted to go to all the parties and I didn't have the money to do it. So I was like, instead of going, I don't have the money, going to what I can't do, I was like, okay, what do I have to create here? What do I have to change here? And I remember glitter was like the big thing, the big fad at that moment. So my friend and I went and bought all this glitter wholesale and all this gel, sat up in my kitchen, in my dining room table. We had glitter from one end of the house to the other. And we mixed it all up in these pots and we put it all in these little tubs. And we walked around Oxford Street in Sydney for, in the afternoon, like up until, the early evening, walking around with these big baskets saying, glitter for $5, hugs for free. And we got 1 million hugs and we sold about $3,000 worth of glitter. But then we had all this money to go out and party. And it was so interesting to see our other friends who were like, oh, I don't have this. Or one of my friends actually hocked his sunglasses. And I was like, looked at him and I thought, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to hock stuff to go and do something. Like that didn't make sense to me. I was like, what can you create? And that's what I see is the lack of creation in people's worlds, the lack of choice to create. Because like we've been talking about, they go to that place of like, oh, well, I'm going to make the wrong choice. I'm going to make a bad choice, and it's like, how many of you have actually been making choices based on what you've seen around you, whether it's like your family, your colleagues, or it's like the culture you're in or whatever that is. And everything that is where you destroy and uncreate it rather than making your own choices. Times a godzillion. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So, Dain, we have some questions that people have been sending in. So,
yes.
So I'm going to have a look at some of those questions after the break, which is coming pretty soon. And one of the themes for a couple of the questions, because there's quite a few, so we'll see if we can grab some. But one of the themes is about talking about how do you work with a team? And it's like, how do you work with other people? And one of the things that comes up for me a lot with, clients and people in my classes is they don't want to hire anyone. And it's like they have all these reasons and justifications for why they can't hire someone. It's like whether they think that, nobody can do the business as good as them or, the conflict it's going to be. Or one of the things that also comes up is if you hire someone, it's like they have to be your new best friend. And it's like they don't. You're just hiring someone. It's just someone who's actually contributing to the team. So I'd love to hear from you too, some of the tools that you have on how to work with a team, how to hire people, and how to be with that. So we're off to a break and we'll talk to you soon.
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Do you want to be a better communicator? Do you want to better connect with the important people in your life? Do you want to enrich your relationships? If so, join me, Matthew Cooper, on the Positive Control System Show every Wednesday evening at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on OMTimes Radio. I'll meet you there.
Hey ladies, do you want to have that good hair day feeling all the time? Gentlemen, would you want your special someone to have that glow, letting you know she is feeling completely satisfied? This feeling and that glow can be yours by embracing your sexual power. So join me, Rachel Kenley, award-winning romance author, on the O-Spot. The O-Spot will guide you to that peak with guest interviews, book discussions, and conversations on the thrills of sexual empowerment. Put the zing back in your life. Come up and see me sometime on the O-Spot, live on Hump Day at 10 p.m. Eastern.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Joy of Business. Joy with Simone Milasas and Dr. Dain Heer. And we're talking about being you in business. And just before we went off to the break, we were talking about sort of working with a team, hiring people, etc. And one of the questions that's come in is she's asking if we could address the building of a team and attracting the right people to your business to help it grow. And she currently uses Access Consciousness tools and provides the clearings, etc. And also asking to like how to increase the leads, like her clients as well. So what tools do you have with that, Dain?
Well, here's the thing, is what you need to realize is your job is to be a leader, but a leader does not mean you're the one that everybody has to follow and everybody has to follow your orders. What you want to do is you want to assemble people who it's obviously different based on the business, but you want to assemble people that are better than you at what they do. In other words, so let's look at three aspects of easier for me to say. Let's look at three aspects of a business. You have the creator, you have the mover, and then you have a connector. And the creator is the one who has the vision and knows where the business has the capacity to go and where it also needs to go. The mover is willing to look into the future and see what's required and make sure it's there. And then you have a connector who's willing to talk to anybody, anytime, to tell them how great this thing is that you're doing. So you need to have those three aspects of it. Now, some people are like a mover connector, a mover creator, or a connector mover, whatever. They have two aspects. And then there's some people like you, Simone, who are foundational, who can be a mover, which means they know what's going to be required in an area. Like, let's say you're putting on seminars like we do. You know, it's like, okay, we're going to need this for registration. We're going to need this many chairs. We're going to need this many tables. We're going to need this much space. And that's what a mover knows and has the capacity for. So you have that connecting thing, you have the moving thing, and you're also a creator. Now, so when one person is in a business, if they have all three aspects of that, they themselves have within them the capacities to create a successful business. But initially what you're looking at is bringing people to you that will complement whatever you're least capable at. This is the sort of the beginning stages when you're going from a one person to actually creating a team to work around you. You want to initially assemble people who are better than you at whatever the aspects are that you're weak in. So for example, if you don't like to talk to people, you want to find somebody who's willing to go out and talk to everybody just because that's the way they are naturally. And that will start. So energetically, if you look at that, that's the beginning of starting to build a team.
Well, one of the things I want to mention with that too, Dain, is because so many people just yesterday, I'm doing a class at the moment in Australia, and someone said, yeah, but if I hire people who are better than me, why would they want to work with me? And the thing that we look at is it's not about judgment, and it's also some people don't wish to own a business. Some people actually just wish to contribute. Some people might be better at you in sales, but they have no idea how to run a business. So it's like if you're asking people, and this was one of the things that I made a huge mistake with. Like my first seminar I ever went to on business with Gary Douglas, the founder of Access in San Francisco, I was sitting in the front row going, oh my goodness, because I thought that nobody could do the job as well as me, and I was hiring people who couldn't do the job as well as me. So everything was always left to me. And so that you become this like source point that it's like you have to be the one that chooses rather than having these amazing, incredible people around you who can make choices, increase the business the way that you may not have chosen, yet you're willing to have that occur.
And that's the part you want to recognize is you need to be willing to have that occur. And with everything that you said, I mean, it's like when Gary hired you, he had hired me and then he hired you. And when he hired you, it's like Gary and I both knew this girl has the capacity to do a far greater job in these areas than we do. She can actually create the business in a way that we can't. And we were both very happy about that, by the way, because, you got to look at this. I mean, because it's not an ego thing. It's like your ego has no place in this. It's what is going to create the greatest for the business and what is going to create the greatest for the future. And so it's like, I mean, this could be several hours of conversation here, this one particular topic. But if you can get a couple of these things, hopefully it will help. And this is also why I said, get a sense of the way you would like the world to be, get the energy of that, get the energy of the way you'd like your life to be. Well, get the energy of if your business were being everything you always hoped and dreamed it could be that you don't even believe it could be yet, what would it be if it could be everything it's got the capacity for? And then you ask when you go to hire somebody, will this person contribute to this? And also ask, what will the business be like in 5 years if I hire them and get the energy of that? What will the business be like in 5 years if I don't and get the energy of that? Now, and if you're in business and you're hearing all this talk about energy, I mean, number one, realize you are on Om radio, so you should probably expect that. But number two, you want to recognize that what this does is it takes out of play all of the crap that is getting in your way as a business person. Because what it does, it takes you out of your logical mind. It takes you out of everything but your awareness of what will be created. And because we're talking about 5 years in the future, it's too far in the future for you to try to predict. So you just have to go with your awareness. And that's what you want to do before you hire anybody. If I hire them, what will it be like in 5 years? And if I don't, what will the business be like in 5 years? And will you make mistakes along the way? Hell yes. But once again, don't make yourself wrong. Don't judge it. Just recognize, cool, got more awareness from that mistake too.
And one of the things I'd like to add to that too, that, one of my favorite tools is have a look if the person's willing to have money in their life when you're hiring them. Because it doesn't mean that they have to have money, but if they have a willingness to actually receive money, then they'll be willing to make more money for your business. They'll be willing to create more success for your business, to expand it. They won't be one of those people who sort of like holds it back because they have this absolute refusal and avoidance of money. So just ask. It's like, truth, is this person willing to have money in their lives?
Yes, and I'm so glad you brought that up. And it's interesting because the beauty of this conversation is it's like there's so many aspects of this that you're aware of from your perspective. There's so many aspects I'm aware of from my perspective. And this, so I point this out because that's exactly how we do business together.
Yeah. With
everybody on our team. Where it's like you have awareness, I have awareness, and when you go, hey, I want to add this, I don't go, oh my God, I feel totally invalidated over here. I just feel like I'm an inch tall. It's like that's not how it works with us. And that's what I've seen with successful businesses is they allow everybody to contribute in the way in which they can contribute the greatest. And one of the other things you want to get is that there are certain points where you'll recognize that okay, your cart is going in one direction. The cart of your business is going in one direction. There are going to be certain times where certain people that you thought were going in the same direction, you find out they are not. And at that point, you either need to have a conversation with them to find out, like, hey, do you still want to do this job anymore? What you need to do is find out, however you get there, you need to find out, are they still going in the same direction, or do they need to go off in their own direction now and do something else, and be willing to let them go if that's what's required, because your cart will go faster in the direction you want it to go in if you don't have somebody tugging the exact opposite direction.
See, that's a huge topic too, Dain, because it's like, it's really interesting to look at that, because it's not going against what somebody else is choosing. It's actually empowering them to choose what is going to work for them. And you're also choosing what's going to work for your business too. So
Yes.
It's not about, like, complaining and bitching around the water cooler at the office about what someone's not doing. It's like, okay, are you actually truly interested in doing this? And not getting cranky and not getting angry when someone is not actually doing something. It's like, find someone else. And that's one of the greatest things working with you and Gary, Dain, is that you guys we have a huge team, and we're not just like, we don't go to an office. It's like we see each other at events around the world, but we all work globally and in all these different countries. So we have to function from our awareness. We have to function from the awareness of where someone else is choosing from, of what, they will choose or what they won't choose, and be willing to ask questions. So
Yes.
that question thing again. And it's like coming
Yeah.
into it. It's like, will it be fun to work with this person? Will they make me money? Will it be a contribution? All of that. And actually, truth, do they actually wish to do this? And if they don't, it's not about judgment. No judgment again. It's actually about just making a different choice.
Yes. And, we've come up with that subject so many times. It's not about judgment. It's not about, oh, they want to go do something else, therefore they're wrong, or therefore I'm wrong, or what I didn't do enough. You got to realize, in business, in life, in all relationship situations, of which business is one, it's like certain people are in your life only for a certain amount of time to gift and receive whatever they're there to gift and receive before they move on. And that is a natural process in the world. It's like when horses are together and one horse goes off and, goes off with another herd, or one horse goes off and dies. The horses don't sit around and mourn. They're like, hey, good on you. Cool, let's get on with our lives, thank you, And so that's the thing we need to realize is there's this other way of doing it that is not about judgment, that basically changes the entire way we interact with everything in our business, including the people in it.
I love that you brought that up, Dain. That is so cool, because it's like people think that they have to stick to one thing. I mean, like I said, in relationships, how many people are in relationships because they're in a relationship and they're not allowed to leave it, or they started a business, or they employed someone, and it's like, hey, someone may be fabulous for your business for 3 months. Some people are fabulous at startup businesses. Like, they love starting it. And then once it gets going, that's not the person who's going to keep your business thriving. It's like, what they're interested in is starting something else up. So either find another project for them to start. They might not be someone who finishes it, but they're great at starting it because they have that creative capacity. So,
Yes.
You've got to ask questions. So we're going to go off to a break really soon. But one of the next question that I want to go over is, someone's asked about, they'd love to address that feeling that happens when your business starts wildly expanding. I love that description, wildly expanding, and being more fun and happier than it has ever been. And you panic just a little bit, and you keep asking for more expansion and what else is possible. So watching as you try to rein it into a comfortable but not comfortable, less successful place. So that's the next question that we'll be going to in the next break. And just as we're going off to it, I just wanted to mention again that Dain has he has lots of classes going on. Like I said, I did the schedule. But today I'm talking about his Being You classes. So, and he actually has the class that he has in America. It's in San Diego. It starts on the 31st of July. They go for 3.5 days. So the first night is the 31st, and, it starts in the evening. This one is live streamed, so you can jump on it live stream from anywhere in the world. And you can also catch him in Mumbai, South Africa, and Paris this year. So maybe now's the time to go to Paris or South Africa or Mumbai. All right,
Yes.
We're back soon. Thanks for joining us on OMTimes with Joy of Business.
connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
What if living didn't have to be so serious?
What if you could move beyond your problems with greater confidence and ease than you've ever imagined?
Throw your labels out the window and join the Irreverent Therapist for practical tips and a very different way of approaching the changes you would like to create.
Marilyn Bradford
and Pam Hodling
have empowered hundreds of people to come out of self-judgment, quit looking to experts, and begin to create the lives they desire.
Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Irreverent Therapist Show.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on OMTimes Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Oh, welcome back to Joy of Business. This is the last segment with Dain Heer. I could talk to you about business all day, Dain.
Me too.
Being you in business. I love it. Woohoo! So I just wanted to make sure that people got that Dain's class, Being You, Changing the World, starts on the 31st of July and it's live streamed. That's the one in San Diego. Now, so I'm not rushing at the end, you can also buy Dain's book, Being You, Changing the World, online, Amazon, usual places, accessconsciousness.com. It is truly one of the most fabulous books that I've ever read. And it's also in audio, which is interesting because a lot of the times at night when I don't think I've told you this, Dain, but a lot of the times at night when I ask and I go, okay, so what can I play tonight? When my stepson has been at his mother's house and come here, it's sort of like sometimes his energy is he's a bit off. He sort of can't try and find himself. And the Being You book is the one that always comes up for me to play. And whenever I play it during the night and he's asleep, he wakes up in the morning and he's like, hey, and he's happy. He's him. He's being him. So, God damn it, cool. It must work, Dain.
That's cool. Hey, you can get the audio. It's a 55-minute audio of me reading the intro in the first chapter on beingyouclass.com or beingyoubook.com, either one. And, just that, I've had people send me emails and say, every time I listen to this audio, I feel better. I'm like, oh, that's so friggin' cool. So, if money's an issue or whatever, you just want to check it out first, you can go there and get it. It's my gift to you. So that's another possibility.
Awesome. So where do they go to? beingyouclass.com.
Yeah, you can go to beingyouclass.com. And on that, there's also a free video series that has 10 basically real simple tools. The stuff you and I both started with, using the simple access tools like the clearing statement. Who does this belong to, and different things. And basically, it's a video course you get run through over the course of a few weeks, and a couple of videos in your email. But that's also free. That's my gift. And then also, there's a True of Consciousness video series on my website, which is also favorites. Free. What's that?
It's one of my favorites because you make these random videos from wherever you are traveling around the world, whether you're like, on a plane or just jumping off a horse, or, you've got gondolas in the background in Venice, or it's like you get to see the world through your eyes too. and also the tools that come up, like different situations that have occurred in your life, Dain. The tour of consciousness, exactly as it says. And it's like, you know, what do you get from it, etc. And you are, you know, kind enough to gift people with those tools. And we've had a lot of great feedback from the tour of consciousness with people. Just, it makes me smile every time you get a tour of consciousness video in your inbox. You're like, oh yeah, where's Dain? What happened? Because you're right. To be so vulnerable. You're not sort of going, right, this is tool number 3. You know, you must do this. It's like, I mean, I've been there when you've like videoed one and you've got mud all over you and all over your horse, etc. And it's like, hey, guess what just happened? You know,
exactly.
It's like, 'cause that's what life's like.
Seriously, and that's one of my favorites because I get to share tools with people and give them to them. And you know, you and I have had conversations about this. So I know this is true for you too. It's like, I want these tools to be in people's hands, you know? It's like, just to at least for them to have the choice to use them. Whether they use them or not is their choice. But I know I wanted something like this 15 years ago and couldn't find it. And when I finally did, I'm like, oh my God, why does everybody not have access to this, you know? So
me too. I think that was both of our awareness when we first came along.
Yes.
So, and it still is our awareness. So, okay, so let's address this last question I was talking about when love to address that feeling when what happens when your business starts wildly expanding, etc.
Yeah. Here's the thing you want to recognize. Number one, almost everybody on the planet has misidentified the energy of excitement as fear. Because physiologically, they're exactly the same. It's just what you do with it in your head that turns one to fear and one to and doesn't allow you to have the excitement of it. And
so you're not actually scared of having sex. You're excited. Is that what you're trying to tell me, Dain?
Exactly. That's what you want to recognize. I'm not afraid of the naked girl in my bed right now. I'm not afraid. I'm
just really excited.
And if you could recognize that with your business too, and the weird part is it's always when it's what you've been asking for showing up in a greater way than you thought it could that you go, oh no, what's wrong? Because we're not used to things just showing up with that much ease. It takes a little practice to get there. So number one, please don't make yourself wrong. Number two, ask, is this fear or excitement? And then number three, recognize if your business is going to explode, like she's talking about, if your business is going to explode, you're going to have to go through periods of discomfort because comfort is based on being able to define and control everything in this reality for most people. And so when it gets out of control or beyond your ability to control, when it gets too large for you as one person to be able to control the energy of it, that's when it can actually grow. That's when you go into this thing of, oh my God. So instead, what if you could allow yourself to acknowledge your business has a consciousness of its own and step into the wave of energy that it is creating and now providing you that you used to have to give to it?
So what are some of the tools or questions you could ask at that moment? Because I can see people sort of going, oh yeah, but what do I do? Like being the control freaks of magnitude that most people are. And it's like, what next?
So let's do this. Everything that you've done to misidentify and misapply excitement as fear, will you destroy and uncreate it, please?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. Number 2, who the heck does that belong to? Is that yours or is that something you bought from somebody else a long time ago? Everything that is times a gazillion. Will you destroy and create it, please?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. And number 3, everything you've done to believe that the aim and target and purpose of life is to become comfortable. Will you destroy and uncreate it, please?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds.
I love that. And what you can also start asking your business too is asking it to show you where it would like to be. And it's like, ask it to, like, give it a job. And it's like, I quite often use a tool of referring to your business as, this is one of the businesses I have that I make money from. And it's like, what have you just done? You've given it a job. It has to make you money. And it's like, instead of it always going back to you as the only source of creation. And it's like your business, like we've been talking about, can be this energetic contribution and an energy of its own that does start to expand. And it's like, okay, where would you like to be? Because we control so much. And it's like one of my favorite clearing statements too is what would happen if you were out of control, out of definition, out of form, structure, significance, out of linearities, and out of concentricities with you being in business. And everything that is times a godzillion, destroy and uncreate it.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyond. Sorry, I'm usually the official pod pocker.
I love it. It's great.
So there.
Yes, so there.
And I love that input. Oh, and one other thing, from the question that was asked before, the thing about the building of a team, this person talked about, as a question we addressed, the first question that we addressed, the person talked about being in the telemarketing business. And what I wanted to do was, what this person needs to do if they're trying to build a team is the first thing they need to do is they need to find people who don't have judgments of telemarketing, or pod and pock all those people's judgments of telemarketing, because it is a business with a very bad rap. And people usually only do it when they're desperate. And so what you want to recognize is if you're doing it from a different place or doing it for a different purpose other than to fleece old people out of their money, you need to let people know that up front, and you need to get off all of their judgments, which is where Access Tools would come in, pock and pot all of their judgments of telemarketing, or find people who really love telemarketing for some reason. Find those rare individuals that are so outgoing or so hungry that they are willing to do it and be successful at it.
Oh, I love that idea. And you can use that with any of the businesses, because there are points of view that are projected at each and every business, whatever it is. So I love that idea. Pock and pot all the judgments, the projections, etc., towards the business. I'm going to see if I can slip in one quick last question. So this is, I built my business on the idea of sustainability, eco-earth-friendly ethics, which seems to limit my pathways of growth, production costs, wholesale growth, etc. What else is possible when I feel trapped in producing and creating for a healthier planet? We've got about a minute.
Okay, so here's the deal. Once again, so all of your all of yours and everybody else's projections, expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections about what creating sustainable, eco, and earth-friendly are, and all of the ethics you've adopted from others, and all of the limitations you've heaped on you based on that, which don't allow you to actually create a business in the way that would actually be possible that would create more for the planet and for you. Will you destroy and uncreate it, please?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. How many judgments, decisions, conclusions, and computations do you have that eco and earth-friendly means you don't make any money, but you give it all back to the earth? Everything that is times a godzillion. Will you destroy and uncreate it, please?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. Let me give you a really quick example. It's like I fly on jets all around the world. Now, if you just looked at my carbon footprint, you would go, wow, he's killing the planet more than most people I know. You know what I mean? But they're essential to getting me to places so I can help people raise their consciousness so they can be the consciousness they are that will create more of a change in the world that far offsets my carbon footprint by probably billions of times each year. So what you want to recognize is there are certain things you're going to have to do and use that currently exist here in order to get the product that you would like out into the world, and see what you can do to make it all sustainable. But recognize if you're creating something that creates a change in the world, perhaps that is having a greater impact than the resources you're utilizing.
Oh, I love that. And it's like not about making it significant, not about making it right or wrong. It's like the awareness, and it's like, how can you work with the planet?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. I love that. Thank you so much, Dain. You're awesome. I've so enjoyed having you on here.
So have I, and thank you so much. I adore you, and I'm so grateful for the gift you are for all the people listening, and also for Access. It has become a far greater business as a result of having you.
Well, thank you, and it's become a far greater world from having both of us in here and the tools. And thank you, Gary Douglas, Access Consciousness. Woohoo! Thanks for joining us on OMTimes with Joy Business. Thanks, Dr. Dain Heer. Bye, everybody.
Bye.